Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. You are watching Polly's Paper Studio and this is day 4 of our 13 days of Halloween series. Now if you're just joining in and you want to get caught up, you can find links at the top of the description for the first 3 days. For today's project we're going to be working with some fun open stock papers and we're going to create a non-traditional style of scrapbook. This is one of the favorite things I have about scrapbooking is there are as many ways to memory keep as you can think of. And so for my project today, I just created a Gable box with my fun Dollar Tree stickers. And I've got this closed up with beautiful trims. It's all decorated on the outside, the front and back, as well as loads of inserts for the inside. So plenty of place for you to keep your pictures and memories and then keep them all nicely secured in this Gable box. This also becomes a very sweet home decor addition. So stick with me and we will make this together. Okay, so for my project today, I thought it would be fun to break out of the collection kits and try out some open stock papers. And so I picked these up at Joann's and also at Hobby Lobby. And they have some at Joann's, it's actually labeled as American Crafts. So this would be very similar and some of the patterns are produced as 12 by 12 in the double-sided papers, but you can pick them up just as single-sided at Joann's in the open stock section. So these are really cute and sweet and vintagey. And then the ones here on the end I picked up from Hobby Lobby. They don't carry a Halloween specific area, but they do have some orange and black patterns, so I thought I could incorporate some of those as well. And I'm also going to be utilizing those stickers that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. And that haul, I shared all the different things I found to create with. I will link that in the description if you want to check it out. I'm not sure these are still available, and most of them I've already taken off the sticker sheet, but so I thought it would be fun to work with the open stock and the Dollar Tree items. And so we're going to make that non-traditional memory keeping system. So I'm starting out with my paper. These are 110-pound cardstock. That's important because you want it to be very sturdy because we're going to fill that up with all of those cards. And then I've got a third piece here. This is going to be kind of the box that holds all of our inserts in. This is also 110-pound cardstock, and I did say I wasn't going to give measurements, but I will tell you where I'm scoring at just so that it makes sense. So my piece here is 9 by 4.5 because I want my box to be 6 inches wide. And so what I'm going to do is come in and score this 1.5 inches in, turn it 1.5 inches in, turn it 1.5 inches in, turn it 1.5 inches in. And this is going to give me a box that is 6 inches wide with a width of 1.5 inches and a depth of 1.5 inches. And that is perfect to hold all of the inserts in very securely. And so what I've done is cut on the ends up to my score line. And this is going to become the sides of my box. So I want to fold this in and then fold in this side as well. And I think it helps to keep this straight and flat on your work surface so that you can get it square. And then just fold in this flap here. I've already added my double-sided adhesive to that. So this will seal up the side of the box. And I'll just do the same thing for this side as well. And keeping everything as square as I can. You can make this out of the cardstock that coordinates with your project, but I just really like to have this base because then I get an additional layer of border. And so here is the box that's already done. And for my sides, now this is going to be 2 of the same measurements, and the width is going to be 7.5 by 6. And so what I'm going to do is score my first line at 1 inch and then my second line at 6 inches. So that leaves me 1 inch for the top, the gable portion that we clip together. There will be a 5 by 6 inch portion here in the middle, and then 1.5 inches on the bottom. Remember, that's the width of our box for the inside. And so I've already put my adhesive on this. And why did I not cut this from one sheet of paper? Well, that's because it wouldn't be long enough, first of all, and also it can be tricky to get the score lines right if you're wrapping around something else. So 2 different pieces will actually work better, and I can add a little bit of Tombow as well as my tape. That tape will hold everything securely while the glue sets up, and I found that it's very easy to line this up. Can you see there? I'm standing it very close, and then I'm just pushing it into the corner, and that way I've got everything lined up nice and square and even. So I'll just give this a little bit of pressure and rely on that tape to hold it in place. Then we've got one more side, so I'll do the very same thing, and this will become the back. And so I'll hold that up one more time and then give that a good crease and push the corner into the score line. That way everything is lined up just perfectly. And then press it down again. Make sure you get a very good contact. Now here are my second score line. I'm just gonna fold these back so that I know where that crease line is. So when I layer on all of my pattern paper, it will fall exactly where I want it to be. First thing I can do is add the covering for these flaps. You definitely want all of this to be finished with that fun pattern paper. And so I've got this with the same black border, and I was able to utilize some of the scraps, the offcuts, as I was working along to cover that piece. So I've got one for this side as well. I'm gonna treat the front and the back with the same background paper, and then we'll just go ahead and finish the front with the additional patterns. So here is that fun plaid, and it's very vintagey. I really love that it isn't a very stark contrast. And so that is finished there on the side. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the front here as well, making sure to leave my borders firmly pressed into place. Now you can see this is already looking pretty festive, but why not layer on an additional pattern? And this one has the very fun spider webs. I didn't have a full sheet of this left to share, but I think this works out as a very good neutral because it doesn't have a lot of pattern going on. And so I'm just going to add that to the bottom. I went ahead and added my cardstock layer there, so I know that I'm going to keep those very busy patterns separate. And of course I need a doily. This is not only going to brighten up the front of this box, but it will also neutralize some of those patterns, so I can include more patterns on top and my focal image. And so this one is just a circle that is die cut from the pattern paper. A nested circle is cut that's slightly larger, so I still get to keep my border, and then popped up on all of those foam tabs so I get a little dimension. And that's just going right in the center of my doily. I really like that star pattern. And so here is part of the stickers from that set. And for the cover, I chose the one with the little pumpkin because it's very sweet, but I had to clip out the background because it was just taking up way too much of that space. And so what I'm going to have to do is add a little bit of Tombow to adhere it. This is a very sweet pumpkin, and it matches the pattern paper very well. I must say that was a happy accident. Okay, now that this is adhered, I'm going to come back in with a sentiment. And this was part of that original sticker. It had those curvy lines in it, and so I wasn't able to use my die cut banner shape that I like to do, but I just clipped it out and kind of followed that curvy edge so it would look like it went all together. And then I added some support via these foam tabs so that it would all be very flat on the surface. I left a portion of that without the spacer so it could be supported by the little pumpkin. And so here's my sentiment for the bottom, and I think that works really well, even though we had to cut it apart and then join it back together, and that takes up just the perfect amount of space. And so now what I have are my flower arrangements, and similar to that slimline card, I decided to break up the arrangements into two, and so I've got some really lovely flowers here from Little Birdie Crafts. They're finished with a metallic-y kind of center, and that gives them a lot of detail. I put one of my handmade flowers on each of them, and I just chose a slightly lighter orange, so it definitely has a good layering effect. And then once again, I put my twine, the netting, some glittery leaves, and then some black leaves, and this will really fill this space in very nicely. And so I'm just going to add one to each of the corners of the circle. And so of course I am going to be using hot glue to adhere these because they're kind of heavy and I want them to be well secured. Put this side on here. There was a few stickers left here on this sticker sheet from the Dollar Tree, so I thought maybe I could incorporate a couple of these hearts just to bring a little bit of detail around the pumpkin. And so I'm going to put one here and then maybe one down here as well. That's really cute. Okay, so that's it for my sticker sheet. I could probably make a couple of tags with those, and that would be fun too, so I'm not going to get rid of those quite yet. Now we want to add a charm, of course, and the perfect spot is right up here. This is quite a large charm, so I'm not going to add two, but I will adhere this just as I always do with my string and cover that with a vintage button that will cover those cut ends. And then I do have a couple of sequins here as well. This is the same mix that I had for yesterday's slimline card. I think once again I'm going to pull out the metallic ones because I think they'll just show a lot nicer here on the cover. And 3 is the perfect amount to kind of balance that large charm, bring a little bit of detail down into the corner. So I'm just going to adhere those with my Tombow. Okay, so there are my sequins on the bottom. What I want to do now is have a closure for this box. And so because I have an inch measured out for the box on either side, I can just clip that up with a wooden clothespin. Now I have attached a bow. This is that beautiful bold check ribbon with a twine bow on top and another button, and I'll just clip that up with the clothespin, and that will help to keep it secure. It also adds a little bit of extra detail to the top. So here's our box. We're already set on the outside. Let's go ahead and work on our inserts. Now, because our box is 6 inches wide, we're able to include a very generous size insert, and I decided on an A2 size card. And so this was actually very good use of the paper without causing a lot of offcuts. And to make my project much faster and easier, I decided to come up with one design and then duplicate it and then change out the sticker. So each one of my inserts will be slightly different, but it's going to have a very coordinated look. It will be a very good use of my paper, and it will be much faster and easier. So I'm going to cover all the front and back sides of these inserts. That way, when you're scrapbooking with this or including your pictures and memories, you're going to have a nice finished edge all the way around. And so what I want to do is utilize as much of these patterns as I can. Now you can decide to use a collection pack, especially if you have one that you've gotten into already and you're trying to use up. So you don't have to match all these papers like I did. You could come with a different pattern or a different combination for each one, and that would be a very good way to get through your stash, and I definitely want to keep that in mind when I'm working along. So you see I did cover 3 of the sides with that same pattern, and now I'm going to just cover the front of this one with the cardstock. And then here's my pattern, coordinates so well with that front cover, and I'm just using all my same borders that I like. Now, because these stickers are the way they are, I decided to change the orientation of these A2 size cards. So we're gonna have to pull them out of the box and flip them around, but that's okay. I just want to make the best use of the front of these cards. And so I decided to put one more of those layering strips on. Remember that's what we have on the front cover. So this all matches very well. And then instead of my traditional circular doily die, I'm deciding to go in with a scalloped edge rectangle. This one has a little stitching, and I pop that up on the foam tab, and I'm just going to center that. And this will be a nice dimensional area. And then I'm going to top it with, I'm going back to that star. Remember, we're coordinating with the cover. Still has the black cardstock border, and I'm just putting this down flat. So this is just going to be kind of a nice frame for my focal images, which are these extra cutie ghosts with the little hearts. This one is my favorite from the collection, and had it been bigger I would have put it on the cover, but that's okay. So I'm just going to put this one in the corner. I want to mention before I finish this that these all are very dimensional, so they have some foam spacers in them already, and so that is an extra way to get some detail. Now I'm going to corner on this, and to fill in the remaining corners, I did create some more of the flowers like I did for the cover. They have some very glittery leaves. This is a much smaller arrangement. And then instead of the large dimensional stamens, I swapped them out for the little faceted jewel, and I don't trust the adhesive on these. They come on a sticker pack. I always add additional wet adhesive to stick those down because I would hate for them to come off. And so I'm just going to add this to the corner here. And then to balance that out, I've created the bows, and these are that charcoal wrinkle ribbon that I picked up from Really Reasonable Ribbon. I'm just going to hold my loops, add the glue to the back. Then I can position all of these loops while that glue sets up, and they will fall just where I want them. So here is an insert that I created with that pattern paper, and of course, like I mentioned, I want them all to match. So I've got all of my stickers, and I created them with the same 4-corner design. So there's stickers in each corner, and then the flowers and the trims in the other. So they all coordinate very well, but they're just much easier to create because they're all the same design. And so what you want to do is stack all of these fun inserts up and then tuck them into the box. You see there's room in here still if you want to include some additional keepsakes and memorabilia. Put some larger pictures in here. If you're using this as a non-traditional scrapbook, then you'll be able to include all kinds of other things just besides just these cards. And so while these are in here, we can pull these sides up and go ahead and clip on our closure. And this will keep all of those precious memories secured inside. So that is all for our Gable Box untraditional scrapbook for day 4. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you come back tomorrow for day 5. Now, the question of the day is a very controversial one. Let me know in the comment section. Pumpkin spice, yay or nay? I'm on the fence. I think it's good in coffee, but not really in anything else. So let me know what you weigh in as in the comment section below. So make sure you leave me a comment on this tutorial as well as a big thumbs up. And if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. Remember, you can find links to all our social media sites in the description below. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.